Hi guys, I'm Ben Wilson, the editor of Official PlayStation Magazine. We've just finished up at the Sony Conference here. I'm with ex-editor Tim Clark, and we're just going to talk about the things we liked and maybe the things we didn't like. I thought it was mainly a positive press conference, Tim. Like, what was your best bit?
I thought, well, I'm a huge Heavy Rain nerd, so I thought it was great to kick off with Beyond Two Souls. Ben, you'd already seen it before.
Yeah.
There was kind of a comic moment when they made a big deal of Ellen Page being in the game, and then she was sat there completely silent for a while, and you sort of thought, well, this is slightly odd. But when it sort of kicked into the kind of sci-fi, the telekinetic stuff, and the sense that she's got this kind of other personality with it, there were loads of interesting ideas in there. As to how it actually plays, I was kind of none the wiser. I mean, you can maybe tell me, is it like Heavy Rain?
I think it's like Heavy. Actually, I actually think I didn't play it much, but I think talking to Leon back in the office, it seemed a bit more like Fahrenheit, okay, where it plays more. It's all about the psychological stuff. From that demo, you didn't really get a sense of the gameplay. But I think there are Heavy Rain elements in there. I think you'll have your QTEs, probably like a more advanced version of that. I think there's bigger names or other big names to come. Like I think that was probably for me maybe the second best game of the show. I actually preferred The Last of Us.
Also featuring Ellen Page.
Ellen Page, but not Ellen Page anymore. Yeah, it's funny that, because obviously that piece of Last of Us art, was it 2-3 weeks ago they just suddenly changed it?
Yeah, I think the lawyers probably had a little word in their shell, and that was that.
It's so brutal, that game, and yet like when it finished, everyone was like whooping and hollering. Like, yeah, violence.
Yeah, well, what I found strange about it is it's a game that obviously like is built on this dynamic, this paternal dynamic, effectively, of wanting to protect a young girl. But she barely batted an eyelid when he like toasted a guy with a Molotov cocktail. Then he's shotgunning dudes in the face. I mean, one of the themes we've seen from E3 so far is just, you know, without wanting to get too Mary Whitehouse, bit of an old reference for your younger viewers, but like there's some amazingly violent games on show, aren't there?
Yeah, absolutely. Like, and I think that with The Last of Us, like I love that bit where, and it was super violent, but where you can actually take a man hostage at gunpoint and like move along with him, move around. Like,
I think what really stood out for me was, you know, obviously David Cage is doing one sort of storytelling, but The Last of Us, we've seen how good Naughty Dog are at doing that kind of interactive cinema. And there was a bit in a fight where the girl's character, it looked like you were about to be shot, and she threw something at the guy, and then that kind of opened up for you to do a melee combo. And that way the action sort of flowing in that sense. I mean, it looks like that kind of gorgeous green destroyed world. There's so much potential in that game. It was funny because Sony pulled the good trick of starting the conference really well and finishing really strongly. In between, I thought they did the classic mistake they often do of having some demos, not necessarily the most exciting stuff, just running on for way too long. Like PlayStation All Stars was too long. Wonder But was really exciting, but then it kind of got a bit confused. And when once you understood the concept, it didn't need to go on for another 5 minutes. Really, you kind of got it and we're into it.
What did you think of Assassins? Because it's been like a massive day for Ubisoft. They obviously revealed Watch Dogs earlier in the day, which looks like it might be a PS4 game. Yeah, but Assassins as well. Like they showed a really good level at their press conference, a sort of snowy level with walls, and you know that looks exciting. And then the boat level, it's like Assassins goes pirates.
Well, the funny thing was, we were out last night and I was talking to Dave Boddington from our video team and Matt Castle from one of our Nintendo magazines, and they were both banging on about how much they'd love there to be a pirate game. And I was going, come on guys, Pirates isn't where it's at in 2012, no one would be interested. But yeah, it looked great seeing those ships bounce along and cannon each other. I think one of the things is, we've seen so many kind of modern themed shooters or slightly sci-fi themed shooters. You're crying out to see anything fresh, and the new Assassins, even though it's effectively the 5th game in that series, it's brought a bunch of new setting and new ideas to the table. I think we're at the end of this generation. The games are all looking very polished and slick. So then it comes down to ideas, and too many of the things we've seen, I don't think have enough ideas.
I think as well, one of the other things that maybe people might not have taken much notice of, but it's quite a big deal, is the PlayStation Suite stuff. I was a bit surprised that they said the first company they're going to work with is HTC, and they've changed it as well now. What's it called? PlayStation Mobile. Like, I think there's a really good idea there, but don't you think at some point it has to come to Apple machines for it to really take off?
I think if you follow the business side of it more, it would be a cold day in hell when Sony and Apple are working together. But I think it's interesting you see both Microsoft and Sony trying to create businesses around that sort of tablet space and become more involved in it, because it's where they've got to be. In terms of the other software, what else stood out for you?
Well, I quite like PlayStation All Stars, but I think I like the Fat Princess was in it. I think there's a good little throwaway thing, and they hinted at Big Daddy from Bioshock being in it and Uncharted.
And
so
Nathan Drake as well.
That was quite exciting.
PlayStation Plus though,
they revealed the new games, Just Cause 2. Like, I guess you'd have it free for like a month, and then you move on to another game.
what kind of surprised me is because I maybe expected a little more on Vita, and there were a couple of exciting announcements. I've been banging on for ages that Assassin should have a female lead character. There's no reason why they couldn't, and they're doing that with the Vita game. And they also announced the Black Ops game for Vita.
So Black Ops Declassified and Assassin's Creed, is it Liberation? Is that what it's called?
And the Black Ops game's out quite soon, but there was no trailer for it. That seemed odd.
No, they said this fall, what's that over here? Maybe October.
So were you surprised by the stuff that wasn't there? There was, Hideo Kojima, we knew he was going to be here. He didn't talk about Project Ogre. There was no sign of Metal Gear Rising.
Yeah. That's a really good point. Yeah.
No GTA, which I guess was kind of expected.
No. Well, it's funny because also Dave Boddington, who's filming us at the moment, he's been going all week. Do you think we'll see Agent? Where's Agent gone?
Where is
Does it even exist?
I don't know.
I don't know. I think that I think we knew that PS4 wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
But I think overall, the stuff that was here, even though there weren't massive surprises, still almost every game, you came away going, that's going to be brilliant. And I think without wanting to get into a babyish war of a console war with the other guys out here, I'd say of the three, Nintendo's tomorrow, but Sony can be quite pleased with how that went, I think. Is that fair? Yeah,
I think there was plenty of variety. I think it was a strong showing. Like you said, nothing that kind of, other than the Cage thing, nothing that completely came out of left field and you thought, I can't believe I've seen that. But, like I said, we're at the end of the generation. It's kind of a holding pattern before we see what happens next year. And I thought it was solid.
Cool. Thanks for your time, Tim. And there'll be more coverage of all these games on the website throughout this week. So keep coming back to officialplaystationmagazine.co.uk.